Ramana Maharishis method. Whatever the path, the goal is the one. Paths have been different and sometimes the same path has been told and taught in different languages. There is one and only one and learned people speak about it. In simple words, what we seek is not something outside ourselves, but the truth within ourselves which is elusive, which refuses to be seen with ordinary means of perception. That truth is clouded, surrounded by clouds like the full moon. The view of the full moon is obstructed by clouds. Actually, the clouds do not pollute, do not touch the moon. Even when there is no cloud, there is another obstruction that may be in the disease of the eye, which makes it difficult to the eye to see the moon. So there are two kinds of obstructions. One is the viewer's own defect and the other is what comes in between. What comes in between is your own world, the external world. What damages the vision itself is ignorance, attachment to the world. So this way the man has himself blindfolded, and when there is a desire to see, the other obstacles, that is the world, works. Two things therefore have to be removed. There must be a strong will, genuine desire, a strong conviction to visualize the truth within. The strong desire automatically dismisses the whole world that is obstructing the vision. That is why if somebody says, I want to see the self within me, but I am not able to, the defect lies in lacking the strength in visualization. There is lack of strength of desire. It is not high enough. For this reason, a man has to develop basically the desire to see the self. All tapas of great men was actuated by the strength of their desire. That is the primary thing. Second one, the world that is attracting us or detracting us becomes weaker and weaker every day. It will not be capable of obstructing his vision, not dealing him from his effort. Many sadhaks have always complained that in spite of great effort, they have not been able to visualize anything within. That obviously means that there is a particular weakness in their desire, and that desire is mixed up with the attention to the world. Attention to the world is supposed to be materialism. This materialism is the diverter. It diverts the attention away from the self. Renunciation, vairagya have therefore been prescribed. We are all aware that God pervades the material nature and the man equally, and the desire to see the self within. If were placed to God for strengthening the desire and also to remove the obstacles of attention to the world, such a prayer is immediately answered. A man undergoes in his materialistic life only the results of his past actions. To seek God's help in materialistic life is not wisdom, because he is under his own law, by the law made by God only. We undergo the results of our actions. Therefore, to go to the lawmaker and seek exemption is certainly not wisdom. It is with great reverence to God that one should submit to God the results of his own actions. Then the so-called suffering becomes reduced. He can seek the strength to withstand karma of which he himself is the author. Such a help is always readily available from the divinity. If we say God is great, God is all mercy, God is compassion, then in what regard is the question? God's grace cannot obviously be towards the materialistic life of man. Then if God's grace is there on your samsara or material life, that material life ought to give us happiness. Not only that samsara, that material life we all lead must be free from the troubles because it has received the grace of God. Even those who have obtained many boons from God by tapas, they lost the wealth, the empires they obtained. For this reason, we can easily conclude that grace of God does not shine on the materials of life. God's grace lies not on the material of life, but on the soul in the man. His grace descends on the soul, for the soul is permanent. Whatever that is permanent must shine, must be realized. It is in this context one should pray for the grace of God, and without doubt he shall obtain the grace of God. Our dual state of sorrow and happiness, pain and pleasure, and so many dualities like this are themselves the problem. It is not as though we are suffering for a while and enjoying for a while, even during the time of our enjoyment of material pleasures, the Atman or the soul is not enjoying the pleasure, for it is in the state of duality. This happiness is a myth, and we feel that it is opposed to the sorrows of life. We should be able to appreciate that the state of duality itself is sorrow. Sorrow is not a sorrow, and a pleasure is not a pleasure. But there being these two itself is a suffering. Our problem, therefore, is the duality. Once the one single truth that pervades the whole world is realized to be present within, the state of duality vanishes. Neither pleasure nor sorrow will touch us anymore. That state of absence of pleasure and pain is called peace. That is Shanti. That Shanti must be sought with the help of God. God has no name or form because names and forms have been denoting only untruth. To give a name to God is to attach some falsehood to Him. But then, for a beginner, there ought to be something to bridge. To cross the roads, one is quite right when you take the name of Vishnu, Shiva, or Shakti. But at the same time, he must be thoroughly aware. You are going through a medium which is relatively true and not actually true to reach the absolute truth. With this awareness, any chanting of a mantra or even concentrating on the form of God becomes harmless. It delivers the goods. A man certainly reaches the goal, truth, in that form and name, and thereby the strength of one's own desire to see the truth alone. He would be able to reach the truth within. Learning of scriptures to any extent, it does not really convey the experience. Experience is gained only by silence, silence of mind, silence of our senses, including the sense of vision, sense of touch, sense of hearing, sense of imaginary visions. Even an imaginary vision is nothing but hallucination in the spiritual path. Pure light, not outside yourself, but exactly at the core of the heart principle. As it is set, that is the path. That path must be accompanied by a life free from anger and desires, free from hatred, free from too much to material things, too much of importance. Results, path must be accompanied by a life free from anger and desires, free from hatred, free from too much of attention to material things, too much of importance given to sorrow and pleasures. There has to be absolute calmness prevailing in the mind. That is a state of passivity. You should be passive if there is a change of circumstances. We should stop asking for a change of circumstances from bad to good. Life must be taken as it is. Paying too much of attention to changes in life, it indicates instability of the man. It indicates the weakness of man. Weakness is a sure failure. It is certain that it leads to failure only. A person has to firmly believe that he is capable of reaching the goal, not on account of his own greatness or strength, but by the strength of grace of God. The giver is more dependable than the receiver. A man has to have only the strength of desire in himself and nothing more. The grace is available to one and all, irrespective of one's own learning, intelligence, or status. Just like the sunshine does not discriminate between a city or a garden or a slum, that kind of grace is to be recognized, believed in, and depended upon. This is the essence of Upanishads. The Vedic religion that has introduced a lot of ritualism in the life has tried to draw the attention of God more to materialistic comforts in life rather than the wisdom inside. So, after a time in the history of Aryan culture, ritualism has receded to background. The inner search has attained a greater importance, and the religion of Upanishads has come to stay. It does not distinguish between man and man, learned or the ignorant. Whatever be the religion or place he was born in, Upanishad is the science of soul reaching God. It does not distinguish between man and man, learned or the ignorant, whatever be the religion or place he was born in. Upanishad is the science of soul reaching God. The essence of the stress of Upanishad is self-finding. The outstanding example how the man can reach God within himself without a long study, lengthy practice of rituals, or even yoga, Hatha Yoga or Raja Yoga, Ramana Maharshi has set in an example to prove that God is reality available within if there is a strong desire. No doubt the samskaras of his past birth have worked, and those samskaras have given him only strong desire rather than showing him the path. For there is no path, there is path only if self and God are separated by distance. He proved that there is no distance between them so that there could be a road leading to him. They are together in the heart center, the self and God. It is obvious that there should be no path. The difficulty is arising because we are looking out rather than looking within. The direction of vision turning inside reveals God there effortlessly. When the effort to see God is compared to the effort put up by a man in obtaining his PhD or doing a successful business, it is insignificant. The effort is almost nil, zero. With a strong desire to see God within, Ramana turned inside and there God is present. When someone approached him with a question as to what is meditation, what is tapas, he simply made the process into a single question. Who am I? Who am I is the question on which a man has to dwell. One must be able to stay put on the question, intellectually, initially, later consciously on the question. Stay on the question itself. That is the key to success. What we all do normally is we put this question to ourselves and immediately dismiss the question with an answer. I might put this question to myself. Who am I? Immediately my acquaintance with the text will tell me that I am Brahman, and that exactly is the pitfall. The answer given is not understood. Answer does not come out of understanding of truth. It is nothing but getting rid of answer, and the question remains inside intact as ever alongside the intellectual answer I have given. Ramana therefore stressed that one must be able to stay on the question till the answer is experienced, not by information but by experience. Intellect must be dismissed from the field. A conscious awareness of the question leads to the answer. Ramana Maharshi dwelt on the question till the answer was given to him. He never practiced any mantra or Aham Brahmasmi, telling himself that he is Brahman, which is nothing but empty words. Therefore, that was a successful tapas. All his tapas did not exceed 2 years or 3 years at the most. The same success that Ramana obtained must be possible to every one of us. This is truth. Whatever he has achieved must be achievable to one and all. As a soul or as a man, he was not made up of different stuff than from all of us. Weaker minds who are not able to concentrate on the question may receive some help from Guru, who should basically be a yogi. The yogi has a powerful consciousness. In the presence of that powerful consciousness, the flicker in the consciousness of the disciple, the unsteady state of mind of the disciple, the disturbed condition of the consciousness of the disciple are certainly brought to a discipline and a state of concentration. But then the question has to be put by himself to himself. He has to himself get the answer. The Guru's experience must be duplicated by the power of his consciousness. A man reaches his own answer within. Experience belongs only to oneself. Prerequisites of sadhana. Nothing is more important than that life energy linked to consciousness. The more emotional strain and stress we undergo, the life energy and consciousness are diverted to a lower level. Thereby you cease to be the best human sample and lose the best human value. The ultimate human level is the threshold to divinity. What is this threshold? Equanimity, not to be affected by stress and strain, constantly thinking of forward step, the next step, that is the next step, threshold to divinity. Man is supposed to be thinking ahead and looking forward. Whenever his emotions and his balances are disturbed, he is looking backward. The recommended state is sthita prajnatva. It is the highest sample of human consciousness and mind. Whenever you look at the world around you, it disturbs you, it distracts you, it takes away the peace of mind that you had and also your balance. Worry alone is not the problem. Even ambition is an enemy to peace of mind. Desire is an enemy to peace of mind. All these things are likely to pull the man down instead of taking him higher and inward to divinity. He moves backward, slides lower. A sthita prajna is one who is not affected by desires, ambitions, fears, expectations, and hopes. He is not shocked by circumstances since everything is obvious. That is game that we are all going through. You are not adding any great quality to that. It is simply recognizing everything in its reality. Whatever that is shocking to man, a disease, disorder, this loss or that's a wrong reaction of the man because he is unprepared. He is not staying in stable equilibrium. Most of our hopes, ambitions, expectations are signs of weaknesses. Sympathy, goodwill, trying to help others, sharing with others. Even there you are disturbing yourself from that sthita prajnatvam. You are going one step down to meet the others at their level. There a noble quality is involved and it is a sacrifice. The equanimity of sthita prajna is sacrificed for a minute for the sake of others. It's a noble deed. Even a Mahatma is supposed to cry when somebody is in distress. The crying is to reduce the suffering of the people. It does not affect him because if that sad thing were to happen to him, he would laugh at it and make others laugh. That is the quality of sthita prajna. In all conditions of emotional existence or emotional living, where conscience and consciousness are involved in events, what is happening in man is wasting his most valuable chetana that is supposed to be directed towards God, ignoring all that is surrounding him. That particular emotion which is handling him is wasting his useful life energy. If the Chaitanya is diverted to any human event in life, it is wasted. So man has to take care of himself, not allowing himself to be touched by anything. If somebody else is suffering, he can say, I am touched. Even if a poor man comes and offers you something, you can say, I am touched by his devotion, love and affection. Acknowledge it wholeheartedly. Show gratitude. God says, I am easily pleased by a fruit, a flower, or a drop of water. That should be the quality of Mahatma. It must be extremely easy to please you. It must be extremely difficult to displease you. The most important quality will have to develop is balance, stability. We should set an example to others by taking a happy event and an unhappy event equally with the same poise. That poise is stability, the plane from where you go forward. As I said, this is the threshold before God, that penultimate stage. Whenever a man is almost reaching that stage, he must not look backward, should not slide down, and should not be affected by anything. Only thing is, his interaction with society is for the sake of society. Man's sadhana does not mean sitting for 1 or 2 hours morning and evening. It should be round the clock, every day, 365 days in a year, developing a different attitude to life and becoming a totally different person. Mind is fixed on the peg like the picture of God that is hanging on. More than 90% of your mind is to be on that, and 10% of attention is enough for all these cores. Everything can be attended to. That attitude must be developed. In fact, the Guru looks to this kind of a change in the people. The personality must be totally reoriented. Its direction must change. Its attitudes must change. And interaction should change. His fears are gone. Expectations are gone. Nothing can shock him and nothing can surprise him. That kind of a change is constantly taking place in the man. He is today different from what he was 1 year ago. Today he is able to take anything obviously as obvious. He is able to understand things, yet he continues to be the same kind-hearted, sympathetic human being where other conditions are concerned. He is the stoic about his own matters. It appears that his own matters do not matter to him. His willpower is increasing. Willpower is sankalpa. You wish that this shall be all right. It shall be all right. You know, Sthita Prajna is defined as this. That is the basic qualification to reach God. He has not achieved anything so long as he is remaining to be what he was. If there is no change in him, he has not achieved anything. If a man is able to learn the art of living to remain unperturbed in spite of all his surroundings, is the greatest achievement in material life. Apart from spirituality and other things, how to live without getting tossed and churned, without being handled by the material life around, have to remain stoic, stable, and unaffected. That is the first thing to be developed. This is the basic platform to take off as a helicopter to go up from the ground with a kick. The life we want to achieve should be approached then. We want to remain unaffected with a purpose. Let us forget about successes and failures. Let the whole thing be treated as fiction. Your body, mind, and heart must be preserved in excellent health without yielding to premises, pulls, and pushes of life. Mind has to be involved, not the heart, not the emotions. That is the prajnatvam. It is nothing but absolute passive attitude to life. Non-involvement, uninvolved passivity as though all incidents in your home and yourself are somebody's, that should be achieved. In fact, you can be less passive when it happens to others. In this manner, we not only conquer the destiny, but sometimes our sankalpa shakti becomes powerful. Forgetting God's presence in you, you are trying to maneuver everything on your own strength, which is very fragile and extremely limited. We can't order the air in our own bedroom. Mosquitoes cannot be driven out of the bed from room. Let us remember this. Although you cannot drive away mosquitoes from your room with physical strength, you can convert yourself to God rather than fighting with stupid mosquitoes. Let me be the Almighty. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva. That is the path. You are different from your circumstances. You should not be a servant to them. Anything is natural in life. If living is natural, dying is also natural. If health is natural, sickness is also natural. We seem to treat sickness as unnatural. Meditation. During eclipse times, meditation is the right thing. A man's binding, his bondage to matter is called materialism. Matter has to release you from its grip. As long as you look at yourself as matter, you are part of matter only. Therefore, you must look at yourself not as matter, but as spirit. Matter cannot hold spirit. Spirit can hold matter and govern it. That is all the difference between a man under bondage and a man released. In a guru or a jnani, it is pure spirit holding matter. In an ordinary man, he is matter, unable to see the spirit. So what is spirit in you? There is Jivatma. It wears the body like you wear your shirt. Your shirt is tailor-made for you. Your physical body is tailor-made for your soul. That tailor is God who stitched that shirt according to karma. So the spirit has accepted the body as its own. The shape of it is 1 inch man made of light and energy. Energy is from the light and light is the shape. Shape of your body is reflected. So it is your physical body reflected as a very small form made up of light. That is called the inner man, whom I call the inch man or Angushta Purusha. He is the man who needs emancipation of Ajnana, not your physical body. This body is not asking for moksha because it is destructible. Body is destroyed, but what continues beyond the body is that inch man. He carries all the load of karma of this body in a capsule form. When we leave the body, the inch man goes out. This Jivatma, which is a small dot, is in due course enters into another body, like wearing a new shirt, leaving the soiled one. If this particular body or its reflection goes along with it, it does not wear the body. The reflection is also destroyed along with the body. Only pure Atma remains. There is no karma attached to Atma. Atman, Ahankara, owning the body, sense of body, the belief that you are your body, attachment to body, it goes like this. It is your attachment to your body as the attachment to this form, which is bondage. This inch man is the yogi, jnani, dhyani, mukta and bandha. He is in the bondage. He is the freed one. He is the one who meditates and the one who attains jnana, moksha. One who has the ajnana has to become a jnani, and the one who is bound has to be released. The inch man has to look at himself. There is a mind and consciousness in you which is capable of looking at it all the time as the object of meditation. Over a time, chitta leaves the gross body and enters it in practice. It may take 2 hours or 2000 hours. It could be anything, but it is bound to be achieved. The journey goes on. Your mind, your chitta, your consciousness should look at this Angushta Purusha. The jnani does not think that he is the body, but he is the subtle body when you assume that you are the subtle body. You become Atman when you assume that you are the physical body. Instead of the subtle body, you become the gross body. Try to see. Your mind must see the inch man and he should chant Om. He needs freedom. Neither your body nor your mind is in the need of freedom, for they are destructible. If the physical body keeps doing pranamam, a little of it trickles into the subtle body and only 1 by 1000th benefit is accrued. When the Angushta Purusha himself is the meditator and is chanting Om, then he is freed. First look at the inch man. Later the inch man has to look at the dot. The pinhead of light inside Angushta Purusha is the Paramatman. This inch man is in your heart. The darshan of Sukshma Sharira itself is your darshan or realization of your own reality. That darshan transforms the whole game. Your experiences become different. You stop being the experiencer. You also stop being the sufferer. When experience ceases, there is neither suffering nor enjoyment. Then you look at yourself not as physical body as you have started, getting rid of involvement in the physical body. That small dot within that small body is Jivatma as well as Paramatma. They are not different. The reflection is Jivatma and the reflection is not Paramatma. The essence of this reflection is Jivatma, which is no different from Paramatman. The best thing is to meditate. Never entertain questions. Forget them and keep doing it. Questions are answered not intellectually, but they are destroyed and they vanish and evaporate like a drop of water on a hot pan. This is how meditation should be done. So for meditation, there has to be a question or a goal. Here it is not a question but a goal, a known goal, only to be realized. Not an unknown goal, not an unclear goal, but a goal which is a reality. Why is it a reality? Your guru tells you. That's all about it. Be a child about it. Meditate and you will see the miracles happen. However, don't expect anything in meditation. You should not expect something to happen. Just walk merrily and continue your journey happily. That's all. What is the difference between living and existence? If a man does not have a goal, if he does not have any other pursuit other than the material comfort, then it is nothing but existing. Living is lively existence, a goal that lends that liveliness to the otherwise mundane existence. Living involves a noble purpose or a lofty ideal, working for the independence of the country, sacrificing the life for the sake of motherland, dedicating oneself to the service of the poor, aspiring to see God through sadhana. Such purposes convert existence into living. Over and above that living, there should be some methodology, some path to be adopted and for doubts to be clarified. When you come to the question of sadhana, you don't have to pay attention to the existence part of your life. Pay all the attention to living because existence can clear up itself. The inherent capability of man is split into several levels. All these levels can work simultaneously. One at a time is not called concentration. It is like shutting the other doors. What I mean is, sadhana is nothing but living. Attention. Existence in so many ways, like physical body's needs, health, income, and expenditure, do not need more than 15 minutes at a time. There is nothing to think about them a second time. If there is a problem chasing you all the time, it draws your attention. It does not allow you to sleep. Even then, your attention on that does not change the problem. The problem remains as such. When people think of a problem, they don't worry. When they worry about a problem, they don't think. Worrying is not thinking. There are efficiency levels. When I say, buy this, sell this, that is the future part of your existence. I pay attention to that also. I see to it that all the people eat, sleep, and dress well. But how much of my attention that I give for this? Not more than 5 minutes at a time, 4 times a day. My attention is on the individual with his problems. There is a psychological relationship between him and his problem. I want to break that. If that relationship is necessary to solve the problem, I would take it over, leaving him alone. If that relationship is not going to solve his problem, I want him to forget about it. Leave the problem to itself. Problem has its own destiny. That need not take a man's attention. There are 4 more important things. I say, separate yourself from the material existence and the problems associated with it. Do not get psychologically involved in them. When I ask you to attach yourself to something, without showing an alternative, it detaches you from something. I am your alternate attention. My physical existence is to provide you an alternate subject of attention. My presence, to the extent you think of me, my presence is to the extent you think of me. As much attention as you pay on me, so much are you detached from the material world. So I want to provide that alternate subject of attention and thereby detach you from your problems. Whether I solve your problems or whether I can solve your problem is another point. Sometimes it so happens that the problems get solved also. The reason may not be my divine power and all that. The very fact that you have detached yourself made your destiny and your planetary positions to have your problem to itself. So there is no other problem other than your planetary position. I don't attribute the capacity to solve anybody's problem to myself. I hang on these problems to the hook of God. This is where my attention is all the time. God. It is hanging from that peg. That peg is capable of taking the entire burden of 14 worlds. It does not break because it is hanging in the air. A peg that is not attached to wall, it hangs in space. It is the strongest of all. It is not dependent. There is something which is always superior to us, much more capable than us. So, when you are worrying about your problems, you are not living. We are supposed to conquer death by attaching ourselves to eternity. Eternity is truth. Rest is all untruth. We are dying every day by being attached to things that don't really last, which are in no way related to the inner self. We are supposed to detach ourselves from them. In this process, we always look for things eternal like the sun, God, Gayatri. They are eternal. All that is eternal is related to us. When I ask you to think of Gayatri, I am asking you to think of eternity. The moment you think of Gayatri, you are no more part of physical body that is dying every minute. As much as you are attached to that, that much you are detached from your body. You have crossed the limits of living and dying the moment you think of Gayatri. Similarly, Master is another deathless eternity. He has stopped dying long ago. Coming and going may be there. That is just like a character on stage. A good actor acts dying. The moment the curtain is down, he suddenly gets up. Audience is touched. Master may put up any show anytime, but his eternity. There is nothing like an individual, self-existence, which is born or which is growing and dying. By non-experience of the existence, by the experience of living, he is eternal. By your constant attachment to him, you are mounted on a horse that is capable of going round the world in a trot. You never get off. On your own, what you cannot achieve, by attaching to something that is capable of achieving the object, you do here. This is called secondary ability, and to start with, you need this. This is called living. Living is sadhana. The essential meaning of living is stop existing. Don't exist like an ant, a cat, or a monkey. So living is pegging yourself on eternity. Brahman is the canvas on which the painting of the world is done, on which the world is operating. Painting is not eternal. It is a changing phenomenon like cinematographic projection. What does not change is the screen. It remains as clean and white as ever, whether it is a love scene or a battlefield. There is an external truth behind everything. It is on that the whole thing is played. Master is one thing. Then what about Angushta Purusha, the incised replica of your physical body? When the physical body itself is not eternal, how can Angushta Purusha be eternal? However, it is definitely much more capable of resisting disease, sorrow, birth and death. He does not undergo all these things. His presence in the body makes you conscious of your body. The Angushta Purusha has chitta, that is consciousness. Chitta is pervading the body. Body consciousness exists in a chitta. Body consciousness is not in the body. Body is not experiencing itself. Chitta is experiencing the body. This is on account of the Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. The subtle man cannot be burnt, though body is burnt. The Angushta Purusha separates that goes out of your body and looks at your body that is being burnt. Then over a time it forgets this body and loses its akriti form. Then what exists? There is another basic core truth in this Angushta Purusha, that is the dot in it. It is not the body. It is not the reflection of the body. It is not even the consciousness of the body. It exists. It exists in all, not only the living creatures. Inanimate, the sun, the moon, Devas, Indra and Brahma. That always reflects. That dot remains. It is on account of the presence of that dot, the Angushta Purusha exists. After creating the whole world, he entered into it. He has no body or shape or consciousness. What consciousness can he have when he is not anything particular? He is Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, water, fire, star, sun, moon, sea, everything. Therefore, consciousness should be defined as an awareness attached to a particular thing which is absolutely different from anything else. If the particular thing is differentiated from others, consciousness arises. In other words, when you are not particularly conscious of your body, you are universally conscious. The phenomenon is defined as universal consciousness or Vishwatma Bhavana. That Vishwatma is Parameshwara. Paramatma is present in you as a dot. On account of the presence of Paramatma, your body's reflection is there. This dot is in the heart of Sukshma Sharira, and the Sukshma Sharira is itself in the heart center. Angushta Purusha is in the heart of all beings. In a nutshell, the subtle body is Angushta Purusha. It exists on account of the dot in it. But the Paramatma, that is the dot, inside the Angushta Purusha does not experience anything, whereas the latter experiences everything. He does not really understand. If he understands, that is, if he is experiencing happiness, pain, and pleasure, then he would also experience death. It means he can be burnt or cut into pieces. Since he is not the experiencer, he experiences the existence of the body which he is occupying through chitta. Consciousness is the medium of communication for Angushta Purusha with the body. It arises when you enter your physical body in the mother's womb. Jivatma cannot be separated from Paramatma. Jivatma can exist only if there is Paramatma. Therefore, there is the presence of Paramatma. The entry of Jivatma into the physical body is the moment when the Chitta arises. This is the mechanism of creation. But for Chitta, you will not protect your body from your heat and cold. You will not know what is painful to you. You may walk into the fire forgetfully. Protection from the destructive forces is the property of Chitta. The creation is depending on Chitta. But for the consciousness, nothing works. The body is hungry. Who asks you to eat? Not the body. The Chitta does it. We call it mind. Mind is the outer periphery of Chitta. So this awareness is sadhana. Awareness in living and achieving the purpose is sadhana. You exist with a purpose and so that is living. The process of achieving it is sadhana. That is concentration on the eternal, the Angushta Purusha with eternity in it. This Angushta Purusha is longer lasting. Body can be cut into pieces, but the Angushta Purusha leaves the body unhurt. Over a time, he forgets the memory of his body and remains as Deepashikha, the crown of a flame in which the dot exists. The Deepashikha is a non-particular Jivatma. Jivatma attached to a particular body is a man. It can exist without a body in a non-particular state, devoid of the memories of the body. The dot in the Jivatma, whether it is in the shape of an Angushta Purusha or Depashika, is the Paramatma. The Angushta Purusha is the Dhyani. He is the man who should be redeemed from rebirth. The body and mind do not do any sadhana. When tapas is performed for a higher purpose, the Angushta Purusha does it, commanding the body. All I ask you to do is to keep your attention on something eternal. I have said 3 things. 1. When I mention Gayatri, sun or the master, I mean eternity. 2. The Angushta Purusha is longer lasting. It is the unhurt part of the body. 3. Eternity is there in it. That is a dot. It's a dimensionless dot. He, Angushta, has dimensions. That dot is the essence of living. That is the goal. When you know this much, the secret is known to you. Nothing more to do, nothing else to do than to remember that your existence is the detached. You are already living. Already your goal is in your consciousness and the mind. It is simple and does not need elaboration. If you speak, more complexity arises. We sit for an hour or 2 to remember this. Remembering it all the time is sadhana. What is the use of sitting for an hour and forgetting it for the rest of the 23 hours? You can attend to all bodily responsibilities, whether at house or in the office. When your attachment is on the dot in the Angushta Purusha, you are automatically detached from all that is material. The degree of attention required to solve the material problems is very little. It can be left to solve automatically. that Paramatma is also responsible for the material welfare and the material destruction. Many people think that when they have a master, sadhana is not necessary. Attention on the master is also sadhana. You cannot think of him without the dot. Where the Angushta Purusha is a realized soul who is always present in the company of that dot, your attention on him is transferred to that permanent entity. Attention should never be broken. Our material demand should not deter the attention. In the sadhana, you get something which you will not get anywhere else. Sacrifice is not called for. Only submission is called for. The only test of having found the master is whether there is any lingering doubt anywhere. Master shares everything with you. You don't share anything with master. Your life, happiness and problems are all shared by his enormous personality. 1,000 lives don't really matter. They get lost into his largeness. You will realize it. His words are enigmatic sometimes. Sometimes his acts baffle you. You cannot understand it. Master is a concept, not a human being. The material of Angushta Purusha is deathless. The shape dies like gold in an ornament. Ornament can be melted. Gold cannot disappear. In dhyana, give up even the thought of result. Don't start categorizing your effort as A-class dhyana or B-class dhyana. Yesterday I did very well, today I did not. Like this, don't start monitoring your performance every day because the object belongs to you. Then a question was asked by somebody. Master, you said sadhana or practice really picks up only when it enters the realm of chitta from the mind. How is this achieved? On one hand, mind is turbulent. It is also being watched. Both seem to coexist. How do we strike a balance? Master replies, in fact, the process is not new at all. It is in the nature of human mind to have a thought, goal in his life, and if he is extremely keen to achieve it, the subject does not stop at his heart level, but goes into chitta. He becomes conscious of the thought all the time. Thought is something and being conscious of the thought is something. Even in spiritual practice, when you think of God, may you be conscious of it. So you do Namasmarana, you go on saying Narayana or Govinda. It is not actually the tongue that is chanting, mind is doing it. Mind and tongue are inseparable, but chitta is not there in it. If the mind were to be disconnected from the process of uttering, then the utterance stops. No organ in the body can function without the mind assisting it. So, what is chittam or shraddha or concentration in your being conscious of your action? You are chanting God's name, but you be conscious about it. That's all. So, in all human desires and strong ambitions, a man who is chanting or thinking of that is also conscious of it all the time. Supposing I want to build a house, I think of the land, plan, and all that which is associated with it. That is not stopping with my mind. It is definitely trickling into my chittam. I am conscious of it all the time. As a result, I am not able to entertain any other subject. The proof of concentration is your inability to entertain any other thought is called concentration. This is applicable to a material desire or spiritual ambition. Chant the name of the Lord and you must be aware of it. We have to strive and depend on the grace of God for progress forward. After all, He is the only source of jnana, redemption, protection, elevation. Call it any name. He is the one and only source. All other actions of individuals are seemingly so. They are not real. All actions and all results come from one source, that is Ishvara. Ishvara fills the world. The spirit and body have nothing in common, nothing to do with each other. Therefore, one should not certainly have any effect on the other. What has your body to do with spiritual advancement? What is stressed is continence, moderate food, and limited sleep. These are meant since you are body conscious all the time. The body consciousness must be diverting its attention to spiritual growth rather than that of the body. It's ignoring, neglecting, and not giving great importance to the body is needed. If the ego is paying attention only to household matters, obviously you are ignoring the process of sadhana. The amount of sadhana must occupy primary attention, and everything else should be secondary or has no place at all in time in the order of things. The attention to household matters is with tensions and worry, which badly affects sadhana. Doing duty without any worry or tension, discharging duty in a state of calmness is required in 24 hours. Take away 6-7 hours for basic needs. You still have 18 hours. How much of this you are giving to sadhana to the question? In the process of sadhana, even the food that you eat, the other things of life in the home life, they don't draw your wholehearted attention. Only a thought of your attention as a matter of routine is given to it. Over a time, they drop off like a ripe fruit from the tree. That is ripening of your attention, not the ripening of these things. In fact, when a man is interested in something more important as a purpose of living, the attention grows and goes on. Prakriti is like a tree which never ripens. The soul has to ripen itself. Drop off from the clutches, from the grip of Prakriti. The spiritual science tells us that a man, when he is thinking of Brahman all the time, thinking of jnana, seeking liberation from this material world, he is on the path of spirituality. He is on the path of moksha. We have to think of Brahman all the time. Think of only the path of moksha all the time.